Hello, everybody. How's it going? Welcome to Tuesday. Hope you're all doing well out there. Very excited to get back doing a little bit of traditional art today. Since the last, I think, couple of streams were digital, which were also very fun. Okay, let's get in there and have some fun. So I think, yeah, we're pretty much set up here. Looks good, looks good. Gonna be working in the sketchbook today, which I'm very happy about, always. I just noticed something interesting. I was looking at references that I had taken on my phone. And this one, which is the reference that I used for the last image that I did. Hello, there's me. And there's you. Your little camera somewhere. There you are. So for this image, I had actually used a cropped image for the reference when I painted the link thing. But I noticed in this zoomed out version, there actually is foliage, dark foliage along the top, and there's some reeds down in the bottom there. So actually those embellishments that I had put in when I painted that picture weren't too far off. And it's just so funny that like one photo over actually had confirmation reference of that. I kind of like how the leaf configuration looks in this setup a bit more than what I actually used. So when I go in and, because I'm going to be going in and finishing those pieces up to make them into full like huge prints, I might actually change it to this configuration because I really like that layout, how it's kind of like diagonally up with the dark shapes. It looks really, really smart. This is also a very good, important image that I took. Let me see if they're gonna auto. It's so bright. Anyway, it's a little chipmunk. When I was on that walk, a chipmunk was just in my path. And I said hello, and then it quickly scurried away. No doubt collecting seeds. So what I would like to paint today, I'll be putting the reference, of course, in the Discord, !Discord in the chat if you'd like to check it out, but it's going to be this one here, which is kind of the walk along the path, and then there's some foliage and trees and stuff, beautiful sky, a lot of good dark shapes like over here and down in here, as well as topping off the light shapes back there, but there's also little breaks of light shining through along the path, the light, on the trees, and of course this whole side here. So it poses a very fun and interesting challenge for the painting today. I'm going to go ahead and share that into the Discord. Done and done. So now I can pull that up on my computer. Beautiful. right, so let's get to sketching out this big fun piece. I think I'm trying to do more with this sketchbook just as kind of a switch up or an experiment. And for the last like 3 sketchbooks, I've had paintings on both sides of the paper, so like going over here and painting on this one. And I found that it left a lot of the borders kind of fragile if I did it on every single page, because I was putting so much water into the threads that hold the book together. So for this one instead, what I'm going to do is just paint on this side, but allow myself to go over in to the other side, but not like necessarily focus on making a full painting on the other side each time. It's something that I see James Gurney do in his sketchbooks, and he uses the same kind. And it's compositionally really fun to just see a part of a painting kind of splash over onto another page, almost like a self-contained illustration. Give myself some of that juice. Okay, I'm also going to set my stretch timer, because it's important for all of us to get our stretches in today. I'll go a little bit longer this time. I'll do 30 minutes between stretches. So let's go in, let's figure it out. Let's block out the composition. So for the most part, I'm seeing big shapes, big areas of value that I want to stick to in this piece. Primarily in the background, we have the tree line. It's kind of just like zoop, across, and then down. And there's sort of a little crest of a tree back there, and then this big whomper here. Other important sort of milestone markers in this piece will be the horizon line, which is right here, ish. And that's where the trail comes from. So the trail comes down along here and curves off past the vanish. And then there is another curve where it comes out like that. And we've got various patches of grasses and things leading up to the path, and then the path, it kind of diverges because there's actually a road or a lane that kind of goes off this way, but then it comes back to the main path over here. So I'm drawing that break in the back. So this area here where the road can turn in, but then comes back out and moves backward along that path. In front of that, we have this little sort of shrub, and I'm trying to do comparative sizes. So I pick an object in the location, and then I compare the next object to that. So we have this sort of big, wiry, dead tree. Just sort of a 2-split. And then up like that. Very fascinating shape. Almost reminds me of like a wire whisk. A little bit like a wire whisk. Now beside that tree, we have a big, big, big bush right here. It takes up a lot of the 4 midground. And I'm trying to block in the big shape of it first, not the details, but just like the slopes, the sides, the shadows. There's sort of like a little cave of shadow here. And then another one kind of like that. These big kind of planes. If the shapes were simplified of the little leaves and structures, then you would see sort of these big, big shapes of shade. Behind that, we have another big tree, and then another one still behind that goes kind of up and looks like it arches over a little bit. I'll use that to break up the sky composition a little, sort of go up off the page. And then there are some other little branches that fly up off of that. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Kind of like this. Important that you make those sounds. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And back behind this tree, there is that sloping plane that we drew initially. That's where that terminates and goes down, sort of meet the trees down here, which tells me that I need to resize this little shrub. Back here, and then we have those little trees. The biggest shape that I see in the trees, in terms of like what the leaves are doing, are triangles. It's like a series of little triangular shapes. So that's what I'll do to rough in where all those leaves live. And then on the big tree, I see sort of clumps, almost cloud-like in its composition, and there's a lot of light up at the top where the light is cascading down, but for the most part, this guy is all in shadows. Shadow, shadow, shadow. And then some sort of effuse light along the path side. Like that, and then dark in here. And back on this side, we have not really anything except a little sort of dead brackish tree back here that I'll just very roughly block in as kind of a collection of twig shapes. And then underneath this bush here, we have more kind of brackish twigs and leaves and things. Very dry, very light in color. Twisting and curving and turning all over the place. Now on the path, we have collections of light and shadow, including, most importantly, where the path splits and light pours through from that little area. Okay, so it looks kind of complicated and blobular right now, but this is sort of where we're going to set in and dig into a lot of the broader shapes and then the finer details as we go. Most of it we're going to be filling in with big washes of color. Go grab some palette paper. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, oh. There we are. Now, when I'm doing these paintings on plein air with the sketchbook, what I generally do is I just tape the palette to the other side of the sketchbook on the other page. So I kind of want to spill the illustration over from one side to the other. So for this one, I'm actually going to be putting it above just slightly. And finding a little bit of tape. A wooga. There we go. So since we've got the sketch complete, we can go in and start selecting our colors. I'm just gonna sort of push these shapes off onto the other side of the page here, just so I have a more complete idea and also more room to breathe with these sketches. There we go. So, for the most part, yellow. For the trees, there's going to be a lot of green foliage, and I want yellows for the warm edges where the sunlight is hitting the trees. Some green. get some white in there. Sorry, I had just to respond to a text message really quick. So gouache is and can be similar to, it's often described in a simple term as between watercolor and acrylic. So you can get a lot of opacity with gouache like you can with acrylic. It doesn't match the opacity of acrylic because that would be ridiculous, but you can also thin it out with water and get very similar effects to a watercolor, especially in terms of blending the colors together. Gouache has mattifying agents inside of it, which means that when it dries, it will dry to a smooth matte finish, which is really good and a big reason why a lot of people in the design field over the last many, many years use it for design work, because it gives a nice, smooth, professional, clean finish without too much fiddling. I find it very versatile in terms of travel. It's one of the main reasons why I really like to bring my gouache around. It's just got these little tubes. You don't have to use very much every time that you paint. Just a tiny little drop for the most part. I'm gonna get some turquoise. I really need to order more turquoise. I gotta do that today. It's gonna take a while to get here. I'm gonna get some primary blue. But yeah, gouache is just very versatile. It can't push things to the limit like you could with oil and acrylic in terms of opacity and reworkability. That's the big reason why you want oils or acrylic, is if you want to just let the thing dry and then go on top of it like forever and ever and ever. Like, that's the huge benefit of oils, right? And it won't give you the almost looking through a gel or stained glass effect of watercolor, because you can really get some layers going with watercolor. But gouache just has the versatility of just being in between all of those things. But I know that depending on what you're used to, it can be tricky to get into. I just happened to have it be like one of the first things that I learned how to really paint with. So thankfully, I haven't had too much trouble, but I know that like a lot of people coming from other disciplines sometimes have some trouble adapting just to how it works. Now we get to have a little bit of fun, because here it comes. I got the tube ringer, y'all. We're about to put the tube through the torture device. Here it goes. We're gonna give it a good squeeze. I love this thing. This is a must-have, in my opinion, for any tube-based media. If you're a painter out there that works with a lot of tubes, look at that. This thing cannot be beat. It is essential. We're making some pasta with the tubes here. And also it just feels good. As like a guy who occasionally loves to get out the old fidget cube, it's just a really, really satisfying thing to use on a regular basis, but also it saves you a lot of money in wasted paint. A lot. Sometimes you just can't dig out that paint, and this thing will make sure that you get every last little bit that you can. It's pretty essential in my estimation. And yes, I do use it for toothpaste, actually. It's very handy for that as well. Nothing makes you feel like you're getting the money's worth than using the tube ringer on something, I tell you. Okay, so we've got some colors on the palette now. I might even, you know what? I might live dangerously. What do you say? I'm gonna put a little bit of raw sienna on the palette. I'm just gonna go kind of bonkers today, because I want there to be some depth and some color to the warms and the cools. But I will say, if you're trying to save money, always remember to be very careful and keep the cap on when you're squeezing the tubes. Because the other day I was squeezing my Windsor Green tube with the tube ringer and the cap wasn't on, and it just shot a bunch of paint out, and I was like, dang it, that is a really difficult paint to get, at least where I am, and I felt very bad. Okay, so we've got our palette ready. I've got my brush primed, just using the synthetic 1-inch flat like I usually do for my beginning stages. And I'm also going to get the 2-inch flat, just a watercolor brush. How do you rectify that? I basically just had to use it all. I had to make sure that the next few paintings I did all included some Windsor green. So I'm going to go up into the sky. Sounds very exciting. And I'm just going to lay down some clean water. Just up there, and I'm kind of going down into the tree area as well, because we want, we want the sky to peek down through the trees. I'm gonna get some turquoise and primary blue and some white and just smoosh that all up. Try to take some of the water out of the brush by laying it down on my drying surface over there, which is just some rolled up paper towel. I've got a lot of water, so I can build my paint color off to the side here and use the water on the palette to manipulate a few different colors together. So on one side, I've got the sky color going, kind of rocking it, getting it real light with lots and lots of paint. Letting the water absorb down into the paper a little bit. And then we will tilt the sketchbook. And then we'll just go in. Hey, Cognos, thank you so much for 3 months. A smoosh emote, what does that look like? I'm gonna grab a little bit of yellow here, just some really bright yellow and a little bit of that white. I know I'm early today, and the thing is, it's because I got stuff to do later too. It's tough. It's tough. But it was the only time I could settle on for today. I'm gonna basically go down wherever the sunlight is really going wild. That is where I'm going to dip it in. And we're just using that sky color, essentially. We're mixing on the palette with these really bright, sunny colors. So I'm not bothering even to use yellow and blue and mixing them into green on the palette. What I'm doing is just getting yellow. I'm basically grabbing sunlight in my brush. And then I am tapping it down onto where the trees want to live, down in here. I'm trying to make it a pretty loose mixture. Just basically want to get anywhere that the sunlight is touching. And we're going to create some gradients by doing this. So I'll start here, and then I'm just going to grab some of that sky color and basically build down into a light green. And we'll just get darker and darker as we go down. Sploosh, 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 sploosh. On this side, I'll be building the shadow color, which is going to be blue and yellow. And then over here, I'm building yellow and blue. So same colors, different amounts. Go. And you have to work relatively fast when you do this. Gotta really get in there. If I ever need more water, I just go into this mixture that I have in the middle of the palette right there. Now we'll build out that gradient. So yellow down into blue. Making sure to leave lots of space for that yellow to breathe and remain, not painting over it all over the place. Smoosh, smoosh, smoosh. And then again, more green back here. And we're going to be pushing these colors much, much darker as we go. But right now I just want sort of a base level, bright, sunny. Mix in a little bit of that Windsor green. It's a very strong green color. So we can keep the saturation up by just going into a pure green, which is one of those occasions when it's really good to have a pre-mixed green on the palette. Usually I don't. Usually I just mix my own green. But occasionally you want to keep the saturation really high, which can be difficult if you're mixing down into a color. More of that primary and Windsor. And I won't do too many of these sort of fine-tuning strokes with the flat brush. A lot of them I can do, but for the most part, that's going to be done with the calligraphy brush a little later on, just because I can get so many variable strokes with that brush. Just working up in and around a lot of these places, building out those gradients, going from light to dark, top to bottom, or wherever the sunlight is hitting from. And then over here, it's going to be especially raucous. Even dipping into the pink and the blue, making this sort of purple. My basic strat is usually just to go with the flat brush until I feel like I can no longer get the kind of strokes that I'm going for. And then I just switch right over to the calligraphy brush, which I'm getting close to that point now. I'm putting in a lot of the darkest colors. I'll water down this mix a little bit more. And then switch off. Calligraphy time. Now it's good not to just put the calligraphy brush right down into the paint like I just did. It's good to prime it first by putting it in the water. That way you don't get the bristles going any which way that they want. And now I'm building up a path color. It needs to be way brighter and a little bit bluer. An important thing to do always during this sort of phase of the painting is just cover up a lot of that paper white, because it can kind of distort your vision. I'm gonna get some more blue and mix it down in. Throwing down some of those blue shadows that can be found on the path. Fine-tuning those shadows in just a bit. So at this point we can pretty much set the page back down. Now we can start going in and defining the shapes within these bigger forms. I'm kind of sketching in right now with a light color where I want some of these shadow forms to go before I commit to putting a really dark color in there. The more time goes by, the more I think about putting together a book, a collection, an art book. I think it would be fun to compile sort of the things I've made, not just sort of the best of, but also just my journey in painting over the last 4 years. 4 years? Is it 4 or 5? It might be 5. 2017, whenever that was. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. 21. So this year was 5 years of painting, which feels like a pretty good amount of years to look back in retrospect. Now, an important thing to always remember with gouache is when it dries, it will be a different color than the paint you put down because of those mattifying agents. Since it dries to a smooth matte finish, it means that anything light will dry darker and anything dark will dry lighter. Also, it is time for our first stretch of the day, so let's go and get it. Love to stretch. Actually, let me find a thing real quick. There we go. So I can turn this guy on every time we stretch now. Oh yeah, we've got so many emotes. So many. And we still have slots to fill. I've got many more emotes to make. I've been trying to find a good way to stream directly to the Discord peeps. I might do some of that on one of my off days, just streaming some casual creation of emotes inside the Discord. Okay, some more Windsor greens, some more primary yellow, a little bit of turquoise and white and pink. And then we can go down into these dark shadows here. Picking from an opposite on the color wheel, I can then mix down a dark color, like this dark shadow inside of the, like underneath this bush. But I'm not mixing down to a pure black because I want to keep some of the luminosity in the picture. I want it to feel like you can feel the light. Now I'm going to thin out that mixture. Honestly, most of the learning curve with gouache is learning water control. How much water to paint ratio do you actually want on a piece? It's so much trial and error with just making a lot of paintings and trying out different effects and techniques, which I really relish. I love going through those paces. Put a little bit more yellow, a little bit white, but a lighter color here. Just build it up bit by bit. Just working around. Basically, I'm painting around where the light is. Putting those shadows in. And then anything that's left is lit leaves. I've only ever used the Winsor & Newton gouache, the designer gouache. I'd be very curious to test out some different brands, because I feel like a lot, especially on streams, folks talk about different brands that they own or that they like. A lot of mention of like the Himi jelly gouache. I really want to try that out because I know a lot of people use it. And I think it would be really cool just like as an experiment, try out something that I'm not used to. Whenever I want more random strokes, more sort of natural looking or windy or twisty strokes, you hold up higher on the brush, more near the booty end, and it gives you a much more random, more shaky stroke. This out again, add a little bit more yellow and white. I think it would be especially helpful if, like, I found out the kind of gouaches people were using and used those specifically, because sometimes I wonder if, you know, there's some knowledge that's universal, like basic art knowledge and stuff like that, but when it comes to specific techniques with specific art mediums, I have to wonder if sometimes it's harder to get a result if you're not using the exact same tools. So I'd like to check out some of those brands and things just to see if I can still make basically the same stuff that I make now with other tools. So down here is where we're going to paint in all of those little bric-a-bracs, the little twigs and sticks and dry brush. So I need this area to be really dark so we can paint opaquely on top. But to that end, I'm going right in with the reds over the greens, making that dark color again. Even adding a little bit of earth tone just to absolutely crush to a dark. Yeah, let me see. I'll check right now, actually. I'll see how much it would cost to get the jelly gouache shipped in. Looks like I can get a set of 18 for 32 bucks. It's not too bad. And the big set of 24 is 52 bucks. Which might be a bit too much just for a test. So I'll get this 18 color set. Okay, I'm gonna cop one of those, and then when it comes in, we'll have a day where we can test out that gouache on stream. Welcome back, Lion. Yeah, a lot of people use that Arteza as well, don't they? Maybe I'll check and see how much that is as well. I should do a day where I just like test out all of these like starter brands of gouache. Because I am genuinely curious to know what other gouache brands even feel like. Like the only other brand of gouache that I've ever had was the really fancy, what was it? What's that really expensive fancy gouache? And I just got a tube of white, because it was the only white that was available at the time. Yes, M-Gram. That's what it was. I got the tube of the white, and I didn't really care for it that much. It was kind of just like, this wasn't worth an additional 20 bucks or whatever. But I haven't tried their colors, and they might have some interesting mixes. Man, you can get a set of 60 Arteza gouaches. Why are there so many colors? It's not like colored pencils. Why do you need so many tubes of gouache? My goodness, I'm gonna go for a cheap set here. 12 colors for 29 bucks. Oh, these are all metallic. What? Ideal for canvas painting, watercolor paper, toned paper, or using with watercolors and mixed media. Well, I don't want a metallic set. Gouache painting set. Basic. Okay. This comes with a whole kit. Man. 40 bucks. This is also metallic. Why are all of these sets just the metallic? Arteza's really trying to get rid of their metallic paint, it seems like. Okay, I'm gonna have to look at these later on because this is wild. That's so funny. Like every time I click on a link for it, they're just like, Arteza 12 color set, check it out. And then I click on it, it's like only metallics. There's a lot of Arteza sets on here, so I'm sure one of them is non. I've never even tried metallic paint before. Might be another thing I test out down the line. Okay, now I can add on, now that the ground area down here has dried a little bit more, I can add on some additional shadows. So I got my soft shadows already, and now I can put in some harder shadows. So I want to mop up a lot of what we've already got down here because it's very green. And I don't want as much green in the shadows. Mostly blue and purple, and add a bit more primary blue on here. Did I remember to reset my stretch timer? I did. Good work, me. I can never remember anything. Some nice deep dark blue. A little bit of that sky color as well. I want some real saturation in these shadows. Hello, hello. I'm using kind of, what is it, magenta, which is a little bit more cool of a red. I'm going to put some primary red down here, just so I can get a bit more orangey of a red. Whoops, I actually used alizarin crimson, but basically the same diff. Get a bit more warm depth in these shadows. And there goes the stretch timer. Reset that and hop up for a stretch. Hello, hello. Thank you. My reference is a photograph that I took while I was out on a little walk a few days ago in the blazing summertime heat, but it's a lovely little marsh trail near where I live. And if you'd like to see it, you can go to !Discord in the chat and join the Discord, and I put it right there in the art references section. Subliminal, thank you so much for 7 months. That notification for it was really, really delayed. It's strange. Or maybe there's lag? I don't know. I've had a couple of internet hiccups the last couple of days, so I wouldn't put it past my internet for lagging out. Twitch is lagging bad. Is it lagging bad across the board for like everybody? Well, hopefully my internet can hold in there. And or Twitch at large. Just keep stuttering, huh? Yeah, my internet was like really bad last night, and I never got around to restarting the router, so if it does stay super wild, I'll just restart the router. But I do know of at least a couple of other streams that have been really having a tough time on Twitch. Let me go back over to my Twitch page. Yeah, it looks like the bitrate's not in the red, but it's been like going pretty bonkers. That's a big mood, Daily Bean. I'm terrible with email. I think my camera only captures at 30. But I wouldn't know how to change it if I wanted to. Now we haven't even gotten to the wiry trees that are in the middle of this picture, or the little bits that are down here as well, which I'm going to be putting in now, because this part is pretty much dry in the middle. So for that, I'm going to be starting with a layer of white. White with a touch of earth tone and not a lot of water. I need to paint opaquely on top. I'm going to grab some permanent, some zinc. I'm going to crush that zinc down, mortar and pestilize it. And the first layer will never be as opaque as you want it to be in the final. So we're basically just drawing a guide, an outline. Now we'll get the tiny little rigging brush to do these small bits. I'm going to get a bit more permanent white out on the palette here. Put that permanent white. Oh, there it is. There it is. I'm very close to the end of this permanent white. It's getting to the point where I'm going to need the tube ringer soon to get the last little bits. But my fresh tube Just drop that right on the floor. My fresh tube of permanent white is ready to go. It's waiting in the wings. You'll be happy to know that I just got some permanent white on my leg. I think that's a sign of good luck, if I'm not mistaken. And mix and mix and mix and mix. Now, what we're basically doing here is painting the lightest parts on, and then we're putting the shadow on after that. And the shadow of this tree has a lot of deep earth tones. I need to mix that up with my calligraphy brush. The rigging brush cannot mix. It's just too weak. A little bit of blue, a little bit of earth tone, red, green. Kind of just a combination of all the colors that we have here because they'll all be bouncing up into those limbs. Technically, I should be waiting until this is a little bit drier, but I'm just so darned impatient. Oh, thank you. I'm having a lot of fun. It's especially nice from stream to switch back and forth between traditional and digital. Kind of flex all the different muscles. Just make sure that nothing gets too worn out. A lot of fun tackling all sorts of different problems. I've got some medium tone here that I'm going to be putting in on the base of the tree, because I kind of want to redden it up a little bit. A popsicle? Now that sounds nice. What flavor is it? Thank you, Cognos. Oh, there's a new Minecraft update? Been thinking a lot about Minecraft lately, about getting back in. Some of the OGs here in the chat, maybe one or two of you were around way back when I did a Minecraft plein air painting in one of my sketchbooks. And we just hopped in on stream. I think it was a new server or a new world, and tried to find a place where I could be safe, and I just kept getting attacked. Ooh, stretch time. Awooga. Get up and get our stretch going. Velocira, or Velocira. Hello, and welcome raiders. Welcome in, get comfy. Just doing a little bit of nature painting in the sketchbook today. Trying to capture that light, airy, bright and colorful feeling of being outside in the heat. Everything feels kind of hazy. It's especially fun capturing these deep shadows in here. I'm glad I decided to just spill over into the next page because I really wanted to get this kind of feeling of just this all-encompassing shadow flowing down. And now, let's see. Get a little bit of green acrylic gouache and add in a few more little leaf details in the back here. With the rigging brush. Try to be pretty sparing with the water. Well, 2 hours flew by in a flash. Sad to say, but I gotta hit the old road. It feels extra short today because we started early, but it has been 2 hours. Oh man, there's a thunderstorm rolling into town. I guess I should get out and get ahead of that. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming by and hanging out with me today. Come back on Thursday, because we have Copic Thursday coming up, which is the show, if you don't know, where you get to vote for the markers that I use, and then I've got to make some illustrations with them. Always a good time, always a little chaotic, but very, very fun. So I hope to see you for that. Thank you so much, everyone who followed, subbed, gifted subs, rated. You're all the very, very best. I will see you on the Discord, !Discord in chat if you want to come hang out with us on the Discord before and after the shows. And that is pretty much it. Please have a great evening / morning / whatever it is, wherever you are. And I will see you on Thursday. Goodbye, everyone. Oh, also, Abby is streaming right now, so let's go raid Abby. It's very rare that I get an opportunity to be early enough to raid Abby, so this is going to be very fun. Let's go show her some love. Here we go. Thanks, everyone. Goodbye.